I'm curious, what was it like when you got the first call from Coach Riley saying, "Do you want to come to USC?"
Yeah, and it was it was one of those moments where you're just kind of in shock, right? You get a call
Yeah,
from Jen Cohen and Lincoln Riley about the opportunity to come to USC. And I grew up a huge USC football fan.
hmm
Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, Lendell White, Jarrett. I mean, that was my team.
yeah,
So instantly that kind of goes through your head. I also lived out in Los Angeles too. So there was a part of me that always wanted to come back home.
yeah.
My parents were divorced. My dad lived out in LA for about 15 years. I would always go and see him. I actually lived out in LA for 4 or 5 years myself too. So you instantly start thinking about going back to Los Angeles. Within the landscape of
Yeah.
college football and recruiting, I'm a firm believer the best high school football is played here in California, and it's the best coaches in high school are coaching those players as well here in California. So it made all the sense in the world for me. And it was about 24 hours and I had made my decision. I
Yeah.
knew as soon as I got that call, I knew this was the place to be.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things in today's uh, college recruiting era where everything is documented and you have recruiting rankings is for your job as the GM, there's a lot of pressure to win the offseason, right? To win the recruiting rankings and to have the number one class. And I think you've had a
Yeah,
number one class almost everywhere you've been
that's right.
in the front office. But that's not ultimately your end goal. Your end goal is to win championships and to put together the best team. There used to be a sign when I was at Penn State. I always remembered it said, "We're not acquiring talent; we're building a team."
That's right.
And so how do you deal with that kind of like pressure to have the number one class, but also making sure that, hey, there's some decisions you may have to make that may hurt that class ranking. That's the right thing for the future of the program.
That's right. I think, if you've looked at the last 4 years that I've been, in this role and been heavily involved in recruiting, I've had a number one recruiting class in the country at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't end up that way. But that's not why I'm not trying to win the offseason. I'm trying to get to a national championship game and build the program the right way.
Yeah.
And I am a firm believer that you can build a culture through recruiting. You
Mm-hmm.
can build your team surrounded by recruiting. And by getting these kids committed early, you're building a family. There's other things that we do in the summer with these kids that is different than anywhere else in the country. That is a huge benefit to us, but it's also a huge reason why I want to get our class together now. I want them to build a family now. I want the parents to know each other now. I want us to have hard conversations and start developing realness within how we evaluate their film and how we talk to them and how they view this place and all the things that come with it. I want them to be a part of our family. And when you
Yeah.
do that and they enter, that way when they come, they set foot on campus, because what happens is everywhere across the country, as soon as you step through the athletic building, as soon as you come into the football building, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you were rated, it doesn't matter what class. All that matters is you're going to get a T-shirt and it's going to say USC on the front,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what matters. So we want to build a culture of kids that are about family and about this place, and they choose it for the right reasons. And that's why I think you see the success that it's ended up, places I've been, you've seen some success because we're building it strategically that way. It's not to win the offseason, right? It's not to be the number one recruiting
Yeah.
class in the country. It's to win.
Yeah. Take me through a day in your life as the general manager of USC football. Like start to, you're probably a 5 a.m. guy, 4 a.m. guy. Yeah.
Yep.
Take me through a day.
So wake up's 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll then I'll take the fast pass to the office, which it saves me here in LA.
Yeah.
But the day varies, right? There's a lot of different. I mean, I just got out of a game day operations meeting talking about game day. There's going to be a player success meeting that we'll have here soon in regards to our current players to go over how their week was this past week, and if any issues that have come up that we can address. We'll have a staff meeting here soon in about 5 minutes. We'll have a staff meeting. After that, we'll be watching some tape with the coaches for a little bit of time to make a couple decisions on some guys. We have a couple recruits that are going to be here in a little bit, so I'll have some recruiting meetings as well. There's obviously in between all of that, don't think for a second there's not agents blowing my phone up. There's not other, um, high school coaches blowing up my phone, recruits. There's so much through a day. It just depends on what day. I might have to go over to Heritage Hall to meet with administration today at some point. Obviously, me and Coach Riley have a great relationship. I'm sure me and him will have a meeting today as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. It just depends on the day. There was a bunch of donors on the field. Obviously, I play a heavy role in the donors that we have are the best donors in the world at USC. I have meetings with one tonight for dinner. So I'll be home probably around 11 o'clock, and then I'll be up at 5 ready to rock and roll again, tomorrow.
Well, what's your favorite moment so far since you've been at USC?
My favorite moment, we had breakfast. I went and grabbed breakfast, and I was coming up the steps, and Danton Lynn, said, "You know what the best thing you've done since you've been here?" And I'm thinking, oh man, he's going to give me a compliment. This is kind of nice. He said, you put Charmin Ultra Soft in the bathroom. and when he said that, I lost it. But that was probably my favorite moment. Dan Lynn, our defensive coordinator here, and he, when we exchanged those words, that was awesome because, every aspect of this program matters to me. And, I'm glad it's taken notice.